diaspora now is not just Africa, right? It extends into South America, definitely deep into parts of Brazil, definitely deep into parts of Central America, all the way up into the South, and then rising up through all the way through the Northeast. Look at Chicago, Midwest.
Yeah.
There's so many inspirations that you can take from the diaspora, and there's so many different collaborations that can be done through it. There's so many different stories that can be told by it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Chef Emme TV on Patreon, a space where I share exclusive content like recipes, cooking tips, and behind-the-scene moments you won't find anywhere else. It's a little deeper look into my kitchen and creative process, and right now, membership is totally free. So head on over to patreon.com/ChefEmmeTV and join for free today. Welcome back to those of you who have been tuning in. Welcome to all the newbies over here. I'm so happy and honored to have you listening today. I do have an ask for you guys. If you're enjoying Dishin Up Diaspora, please make sure that you are subscribed wherever you're listening on. If you have some extra time, I would also love an honest review. Your support and honest feedback is going to help this podcast to continue to grow. So please, please, please. Also be sure that you're following us on Instagram at Dishin Up Diaspora Podcast and follow me on Instagram at Chef Emme _. I'm so excited about the guest that we have today. Chef Lana Lagomarsini is a powerhouse chef, storyteller, and founder of Lana Cooks, her private chef company. She trained at the Culinary Institute of America and sharpened her craft in some of New York City's most acclaimed kitchens, including Blue Hill at Stone Bar, Gramercy Tavern, and Momofuku Ko. Lana's cooking centers on the roots of Black food culture and reimagines American cuisine through the lens of the African diaspora. Her work has been featured in Eater, The Infatuation, and Cherry Bombs magazine and podcast. In 2003, she was a fan favorite on Netflix Pressure Cooker. Recently, she competed on Top Chef Destination Canada. Lana, welcome. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
here.
so much for having me.
I'm so excited. Before we get started on your culinary journey, I like to start with a little game that I call Quick Dish. I'm going to name 2 things, and then you're just going to pick which one speaks the most to you. Okay? All right. Fine dining or backyard cookout?
Ooh, that's hard. But if I had to do one for the rest of my life, probably a backyard cookout.
Yes. Fire roasted or deep fried?
God, these are hard. Okay, fire roasted.
Street food or fine dining?
I guess fine dining in that situation, just because I can have fine dining still in this moment.
Yes. Cornbread or buttermilk biscuits?
Cornbread.
Cooking on a line or private chefing in a client's kitchen?
Ooh, that's a good question. Part of me does miss cooking on the line, but I like being my own boss.
Yes. Shrimp and grits or chicken and waffles?
Shrimp and grits.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. How did food show up in your life growing up? Like, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And how did food show up in your life?
So I grew up in New York City, and I feel like I was always surrounded by food. You know, my mother's side is from the South, and my father's side is from Germany, Puerto Rico, and Italy. So those are, I feel like, all cultures that just really kind of come around the table and are known for being around the table and having a lot of food-centric celebrations.
Yeah.
So growing up, food was just always there. You know, some of my earliest memories, whether they're with my family or at restaurants, like with my mom, like me and my mom used to love to go out to certain fancy restaurants, which is why fine dining will always have a special place in my heart. But yeah, we used to go out to eat and stuff as well. So, you know, some of my earliest memories always have to do with food.
Yeah.
I think that goes for most people. So it's definitely shown up in my life since as long as I can remember.
Yeah. Was there a lot of like cooking at home? Like, does your mom or your dad cook a lot at home?
Yeah, we definitely were my mom always made sure we were fed. We had food on the table and she was cooking it. Sometimes when my grandmother would come and visit from Puerto Rico, my German grandmother, she would make her special German dishes. And after school, when my grandmother on my mom's side would pick me up, I would get a lot of soul food. So
nice.
a big mix
Yeah.
of all different types of
The
food.
dream.
I went to private school on the Upper East Side,
Uh-huh.
so we're talking lots of Jewish delis, and
Yeah.
there's just a wide breadth of food. I can remember from an early age.
Wow.
Even just stuff like what are they called, garlic knots and stuff that are like so
Mm.
iconically New York. I didn't even realize until I left New York
Uh.
and went to Boston, and remember asking at a pizza place for some garlic knots, and they looked at me like I had three heads. So, but all of these memories are like some of my earliest memories.
That's amazing. Okay, so obviously food was a huge part of your life, but did
Mm.
you know that you were going to be in the culinary industry?
No, not really. It's funny. Looking back, I probably should have realized a lot sooner, but no, I did not. I always considered myself very artistic, didn't necessarily think that I could be like a culinary artist.
Mm.
So it took a while for me to make that realization.
Yeah.
But looking back, I probably should have gone straight to culinary school as soon as I was done with high school.
Yeah, yeah. Where did you veer off into like a different industry for a while before?
Yes, so I went to Northeastern University in Boston, and I have my degree in journalism from
Okay.
there. So a something I have a lot of respect for. I
Yeah.
love the news. I
Hmm.
love independent journalism. I love journalists. I think that they're very much unsung heroes of society. In the way that line cooks used to be. I feel
Yeah.
like now everything is quite romanticized. But yeah, I really enjoyed the journalists struggle
Yeah.
and the search for the truth and all of that. So I did go to school for it and completed my bachelor's degree
Yeah.
in journalism and promptly went to culinary school right after.
So like right after it was like you didn't even work in the
It
industry?
was like a year. It was like a
Okay.
year.
Okay. What
A
made you go
year
to
of working in the industry in Boston when I
uh-huh.
realized I was like, what am I doing? I was like writing a blog about cooking and I was
Oh,
like,
okay. So you were, you know, always meant to be cooking and finally listen to your heart.
yeah. It
Interesting.
definitely was shows like Food Network and Top
Yeah.
Chef and stuff that definitely inspired me early on.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, once it started, it was just like steamrolling,
Yeah.
over any other plans I might have had for my life.
Totally. Okay, so then you went to like culinary school and then did you think that you were going to be like in the restaurant industry? Or did you know that you were going to, do your private chef thing?
No, I mean, I pretty much planned on being in restaurants, and that was for the foreseeable future,
Yeah.
honestly. It was only the pandemic that made me deviate from those plans.
Oh, okay. Okay, is that when you like right after is that when you opened up Lana Cooks?
Yeah, so the pandemic obviously laid everyone off in New York
Yeah.
on the same day that all restaurants closed, and it was just very sudden. And a few months went by here and there while I tried to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to cook for people.
Mhm.
And when the private work started coming in, it didn't take long for me to realize that I needed to incorporate and have a business of my own,
Yeah.
and not to just be kind of doing it just I don't know, hoping for
Yeah.
the path to reveal itself, that I kind of had to help the path, like
Yeah.
maybe like mow the grass, or so to speak, to just get myself where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And then once I incorporated, it was things seemed to start moving quite fast after that.
Yeah. And so you never even thought about like, restaurants are back open, like it wasn't even really like a desire to go back?
Well, by the time they were back open, it just I couldn't find a restaurant that I wanted to go into more than I wanted to pursue what was happening with my business.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, and I feel that like deeply too. Well, honestly, like I went to culinary school knowing I didn't want to work in restaurants. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I grew up in like a restaurant owning family, and really hard. My parents were never home and whatnot, but I knew I wanted to cook. Just didn't know what I wanted to do, but like I feel like back in the day it was like if you're going to culinary school or if you're going to be a chef, like it's only restaurants, there's no other path, you know what I mean? But I feel like
Yeah.
nowadays it's not, and I meet so many like chefs and creatives that are doing so many different things. They're doing it all. Maybe they are working restaurants, but they're also like doing so many things like on the side. So I think it's like a really great time to be able to just be a creative in this industry.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, For me, I think personally, my advice to people would be like, restaurants don't have to be the end all be all, but I do think that if you're not going to go to culinary school, which I don't think is necessary,
Mm-hmm.
that you should work in a restaurant for at
Yeah.
least like a year or two, kind of get like some kind of formal training. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be culinary school, then maybe a restaurant, that if you do want to go down the road of starting your own business, that there is some kind of something that sets you apart from just like the everyday chef,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is that formal training in some way or another.
Yeah.
Um, the path that people choose, it can go so many different ways. If you can get like a mentorship from someone as well who is like a well-known chef or what have you, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's a lot of different ways to learn. But for sure, yeah, I'm one of two minds, right? I'm like, I feel like there
Totally.
should be some kind of you should have some kind of idea of what you're doing that sets you apart, but
Yeah.
what that is or how you get there can be gone in a lot of different ways.
No, totally. 100%. So what you're doing right now, you have just like private chef clients? Do you do like caterings and your pop-ups still? Like what is a day in the life?
Yeah, a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
honestly. Definitely still doing private work. Most of my work is like short-term contracts and catering, so like
Mhm.
one-day events type of situations. I do a lot of traveling for food and wine events,
Mhm.
and I do pop-ups and residencies. So just anywhere I can cook,
Yeah.
in any way, I'm kind of just chomping at the bit to do that. But yeah, I have some residencies coming up, or I have a residency coming up in August, in New York
Nice.
City at a spot called Fulgrance's, and I'll be there for about 3 weeks, which I'm
Nice.
super excited about. And the month of July is going to be a lot of private work,
Yeah.
so definitely a fair mix of lots of different things. Last week I did my Juneteenth event
Mhm.
with my really good friends Nana Wilmot and Deborah Jean.
Yes.
Our annual cookout. So, that's like a big community event.
Yeah.
I just got back from Aspen Food and Wine. Like that's like a food and wine event, like a
Mhm.
networking type of
Yeah.
thing as well. So and then like I mentioned already, I have the private work coming up, and then
Mhm.
also a residency
Yeah.
for 3 weeks in August. So I'd say that my cooking and how I cook and what I do just is constantly evolving and
Totally.
changing. And my main focus is just to feed as many people as possible.
Yes. I love that. What would you say, to a person wanting, to have like the career that you have right now? Like how do they even start? Yes, like either culinary school or restaurants, but how do you start like with all these different paths, all these different things that you're doing, like private chefing, events, pop-ups, residencies? Like what would you tell them like is the first couple steps to take?
Well, I would say, I do all this stuff because I can't make a decision on what I want to do. So, if you have a better idea, then, I would say go down that path.
Mm.
But um, no, I mean, in all seriousness, I would, like we spoke on, and like you just said, I would recommend first getting formal training in some way or another, and then starting to explore starting your own business, potentially talking to other people who do that, or contacting agencies that, contract out private chefs is a great way to like getting to get started
Mhm.
in the industry and start like building a database of chefs and private clients. And it takes a couple of years for word of mouth to really start to take effect, and for things to start to snowball,
Yeah.
and for people to start to take notice of you.
Yeah.
And I'd say the most important thing that a young chef who wants to cook needs is tenacity.
Yes.
um, I would say if you want to do pop-ups, there's lots of restaurants in New York City that do pop-ups that offer those types of things for chefs.
Mhm.
um, do your research, like see who's doing pop-ups, see where the pop-ups are happening in New York City.
Mhm.
There's apps that are focused directly on pop-ups in New York City. There's news about it on Eater. There's apps like I said, like Ate It or whatever, that is focused just on pop-ups. And
Mhm.
if you notice that people are popping up at the same location,
Yeah.
all the time, then that location offers pop-ups, or
Mhm.
even if it's just one location one time, I would be reaching out to every place I saw a chef was doing a
Yeah.
pop-up at, because at least then they have the structure for it and they've done it once before,
Yeah.
that much. Um, so, if you want to do more of events, like I said, word of mouth is something that takes time to foster. Um, if you have any other friends in the industry who are doing that, right now, I would say always a good idea to reach out to people that are doing what you want to do
Mm-hmm.
and asking them for advice. The right people in your life will never gatekeep information.
Mm-hmm.
And if there, and there's room for everyone in this
Yeah.
industry. There's like, oh, people always talking about shortages of cooks. So
Yeah.
there's no reason why anyone should gatekeep information.
Mm-hmm.
As a private chef, I understand if someone gets a gig over me, then that is the way it is. But
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, there's like more work to go around than you even, then there's no
Completely.
need to be snarky, I
No,
guess.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I would say if you have a friend or someone doing it, to reach out to them and ask them, you know, is there any way, is there anyone that or do you have any overflow of jobs, or do you need a
Mm-hmm.
sous chef on your events and stuff, and just start to work your way into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just like anything, it's an investment of time and energy, and it doesn't happen overnight.
No, yeah. I do have to say I love like watching you on social media. I love like the little like girl gang of chefs that you guys got, and I'm so envious. I'm like over here lonely in Seattle, but I just love,
Oh,
I think it's so important, and I'm so like excited for you guys that you guys have each other. I'm speaking, like Nana Farial and stuff. I love seeing when you guys get together and it's like this group of like Black women chef like creating amazing things. I think it's like rare. I don't, you guys are like literally like the only ones that I see like on a regular basis. I think it's so important in this industry. There's not a lot of us.
yeah,
Um,
no, 100%. And I feel like in so many spaces, especially coming from a fine dining background, like
mhm.
if you're part of a minority group, whether it be women or black people, or any other minority group that you want to just softball right in there,
Yeah.
that especially if there's just two of you or like a very small number of you, um, those types of spaces can sometimes create minorities to kind of pit against one another,
Mhm.
and it can create a very toxic environment, when instead it should create one of growth and
Yeah.
coming together. And so that is one thing that I am happy that I found outside of restaurants, is
Mhm.
this particular community of women that feels the same way, that knows that people, it's only people at the bottom that fight. It's that people
Mhm.
at the top that collaborate, and
Mm.
that they know that, and
Yes.
that they're in my corner no matter what, and they're there to support me. They're there to give advice, to talk. We can talk on anything we really need to talk on, which
Yeah.
is really just to have that background of support. I think it really has made me much more of a confident person, and
Mhm.
therefore like made my career better, because I
Yeah.
think that confidence just like seeps into everything that I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has definitely come out in some really cool ways.
Yeah. I love it. I love watching it.
So I'm very grateful.
You're lucky for sure. It's not
Yeah.
a lot of us don't have a lot of that. So, yeah, it's
Well,
super
listen,
cool.
anytime you want to come to New York, you'll
I
have a
know.
whole
I'm like,
mess of friends there.
yes. My brother moved to New York, so I'm like, I might have to come spend the summer with my brother. Goodbye,
Yeah, it's
children.
super cute out here. It's
Yeah.
expensive, but it's cute.
I know. Yeah, he talks about it all the time. How it's expensive, taxes, and all this is crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, talk to me about your food. So you had your mom is from the South, but your dad has all these backgrounds shapes you and shapes your food. Like, how would you describe your food and the way that you cook?
So I would say a lot of my food is Black heritage cuisines, or inspired by Black heritage cooking,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of reimagined through the lens of all my training, which is a lot of fine dining
Mm-hmm.
focused. So I'm very hesitant to ever use like the word elevated, because I think that just has like, doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel right. I don't think that foods of the diaspora need
Television.
elevation
Mm-hmm.
in the way that word can sometimes imply.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I like to just say that I'm reimagining it through that fine dining lens. Like, I'm bringing those same flavors to techniques that are normally reserved for European cuisines.
Yeah.
To give the foods and the flavors that I know and grew up with a different platform to stand upon.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly very interested and intrigued, hence the journalism background. So maybe it was not
Yeah.
for nothing.
Right.
As I am very interested in research and in storytelling, and having that background in journalism actually makes it very easy for me to do said research and to start to craft those stories, because I have it so deeply ingrained in me already.
Yeah.
So it just was finding the right way and the stories I want to tell, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say that a lot of that, once I like find if I find one little interesting factoid out about food, and I'm constantly reading about the history of food in America, I have books and books on my bookshelf that I'm constantly going through and like putting little sticky pages in and stuff,
Yeah.
to go back and research upon later.
Mhm.
If I find something interesting out, I will research it until I find inspiration to make something that is unique but also familiar.
Yeah. And let me go back to what you said, how you don't want to use the word elevated. I love that. And I've really been trying to be like more conscious of how I speak, especially like when it comes to things of the African diaspora, because, we don't notice like how our words are so powerful. I've
Mm,
made a conscious decision not to refer to the enslaved people as slaves. They're enslaved people. Let's call it what it is. They were kidnapped. They were trafficked. So like
right,
being like really intentional about like saying the words that are actually facts, and like that
right.
like respect the history that took place. And now that you mentioned it, elevate, like saying like elevated blah 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 food, that's, if you really dissect it, it's like sending a little message. So thank you for sharing that. I definitely now will pay attention to that and saying, what was it that you say you used instead, that you are?
I like to say it through a fine dining lens, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like like it's like transfigured, or if you will. I feel like that's like just a Harry Potter spell. But like transfiguration was a class, right? But
Yeah.
anyways, but imagine just like the same flavors, just a different technique,
Yeah.
and that doesn't. And that's not to say that doing it through a fine dining lens makes the food better.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it's just a different interpretation of it. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Like, as long as if the flavors aren't hitting in the same way that the food that we're more used to seeing, and food in a more casual setting
Mm-hmm.
is hitting, then it really doesn't matter how
Yeah.
fine dining it is. If it doesn't
Exactly.
taste the same, then
Totally.
why am I doing it? So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's really powerful. Especially, cooking this food from, like the African diaspora, whether it be like American black food or Afro-Brazilian food. It does, at least to me, I feel like it comes with like a sense of like responsibility, because I feel like we're really like starting to kind of introduce these cuisines, or reintroduce these cuisines to
right,
the world on a different platform and a different level. And there's just like this sense of like responsibility on how to present it in a way that respects the history.
right,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's just bringing the flavors. And then just bringing my own, my interpretation would be, I've worked in fine dining for 12 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how and every time I worked in fine dining, I was looking for the flavors I grew up with in these
Mm-hmm.
beautiful techniques.
Yeah.
And it's why can't we apply these
Totally.
techniques to these flavors, is all I'm saying, pretty much.
Did you ever feel like pressure to be like authentic Southern food, or like did you ever feel this like you had to be in this box of like authenticity?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I kind of know that I'm never going to be authentically Southern,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not from the South.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from New York.
Yeah.
So, but I did grow up with those flavors. Soul food is a result of people from the South migrating up to the North in the Great Migration and bringing those flavors with them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's roots in the South, because that's where my family was trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
There's roots, and there's roots all through America. But I always, I've never felt the need to be authentically Southern, because I'm not authentically Southern.
Yeah.
And I know that. So, that so I'm never going to compete
Right.
with someone from the South. Like, I'm not going to compete with chefs coming out of anywhere from the Carolinas down, because I know that they're doing something that's, you know they're doing incredible work and beautiful work and work that I wouldn't even try to replicate,
Mhm.
or work that I wouldn't insult them by
Yeah.
trying to say that I can do it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm inspired by you.
Mhm.
And like I will, and I have been down to the South, and I hope to continue to keep diving deep into, it doesn't feel like it's like the safest time to just be like roaming through the South, being like, I want to try the food. But whenever I have opportunities to get down there in ways that make sense for me, I definitely try to go down there. I try to catch the vibe, talk to local chefs, link with local chefs, eat the food, understand the flavors, talk to them about it,
Mhm.
and then all of that is prefaced with, I'm not trying to be you,
Mhm.
I'm trying to be me,
Yeah.
and I'm inspired by you, and I'm inspired by the history and the culture and the food here, and I'm inspired by the story of America and its
Mhm.
ways through food. But I'm never going to be a Southern girl.
Yeah.
I'm from
Totally.
the Bronx.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, and I need to kind of just hold true to that, and say that, just because I'm from the Bronx, though, doesn't mean I can't make pot liquor.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
know about pot liquor. Because my
Yes.
grandmother's from Alabama.
There you go.
So I'm one, and my mother's from Alabama. So I'm like one family member removed
Yeah.
from those times.
Yeah. No, totally. That absolutely makes sense. I would I I know our listeners want to know about your cooking competition days, and I know a lot of people, I think that it's like romanticized, and it's like a lot of people want to be a chef so like they can be like on, TV and competition shows. Like what would be the advice that you give to these people who want to, I guess, quote unquote, be discovered and be on these competition shows?
Well, I would say that first comes first, you have to like cooking no matter what. If you want to be a chef to be famous, then you're gonna fall. I doubt you'll make it to the fame point before you'll want to quit, because so much of this industry, it's an art form, it's a passion, it's for those who do it, it's like a calling,
Mm-hmm.
So if you follow your dreams and follow your heart and follow your calling, then there is a chance that you might be recognized for your talents and for your skill by ending up on one of these shows. But I wouldn't get into cooking to be on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
could like be on like Love Island or something without having to stress out. Like, it's
Yeah.
going to take years and years of sweating in kitchens and learning how to cook and, really putting your heart and soul into it, to apply for a show like this and to
Yeah.
compete at that level. But yeah, what I would say is if someone loves cooking and
Mm-hmm.
wants, and if Top Chef is the goal one day, or pressure cooker or something like this is the goal one day, but you love what you do, then more likely than not you'll clear that hurdle.
Yeah.
Like like you can set your own life intentions, and sometimes life surprises you. But I think that if you love to cook and you want to one day be on Top Chef, then I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
But if you want to be on Top Chef one day and that's it, full
Yes.
stop, you got to love to cook first.
Yes.
That's, it's obvious if you don't love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like you won't make it far in the industry if you don't love it, also,
Yeah. No,
because
totally.
at some point you're gonna you realize how much work it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're cooking on such like a competitive stage, on or off the camera, like what is like how do you stay true to yourself and don't like get inside your head and allow other people to kind of like intimidate you and just like, stay true to yourself?
Well, I mean, listen, who says I'm not in my own head? I feel like everyone who's in the arts field in
It's
some way or
hard.
another is
Yeah.
in their own head at some
Hmm.
point. And that's totally natural. But I would say, what keeps me from getting too frazzled is just, do your best, stay true to yourself. You know in your heart what you will and won't do, what you're into and what you're not, what speaks to you and what doesn't, Um, so I would say always go down that path, bet on yourself and just do your best. These types of shows are designed to be challenging and designed to push yourself. And I I'm certainly glad I went for it. I have no regrets about anything,
Yeah.
about any kind of competition I've ever done.
Hmm.
I've been very blessed. And I think that, that if you just remember who you are before you go in, that you'll be good no matter how it shakes out.
Nice. Okay, so you said you have a residency coming up in August.
Yep.
What's next? What should we be looking out for?
I'm really excited about the residency. I definitely have another dinner at Brooklyn Grange, which is a rooftop farm in Brooklyn.
Hmm.
And so those two things. So the rooftop dinner is only going to be one night, but the
Okay.
residency is going to be for much longer, which is something I'm very excited about, to
Yeah.
see some more evolution in my dishes and in my cooking. And if you guys want to come along for the journey, I would love to feed you. A 3 week long stint is a longer residency than I've done
Hmm.
yet, and I'm really excited to step into this residency era of my
Yeah.
life. I think I want to start doing longer term
Hmm.
things where people can kind of get to know me, get to know my
Hmm.
cooking, and come enjoy a beautiful tasting menu inspired by the diaspora in so many different ways.
I love it.
Love
I
it.
need a space in Seattle that I can bring you to so you can come cook here and I can eat your food. We can do a collab.
That's it. From your lips to God's ears. Let's go.
Yes.
Calling it in, and that's what I love about the diaspora, because it really is such, such horrible history brought about such incredible culture still on the other
Yes.
side of it. This is why I love us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the diaspora now is not just Africa, right? It extends into South America,
Mhm.
definitely deep into parts of Brazil,
Mhm.
definitely deep into parts of Central America, all the
Yeah.
way up into the South, and then rising up through all the way through the Northeast. Look at Chicago,
Mhm.
like the Midwest.
Yeah.
Like, so it, there's so many inspirations that you can take from the diaspora, and
Mhm.
there's so many different collaborations that can be done
Yes.
through it. There's so many different stories that can be told by it. So yeah, I would love to collab with you.
Yes.
There's so much we can play upon.
Yeah.
There's so much we could do,
Mhm.
because the diaspora is huge,
Yes.
and the diaspora has so many beautiful stories that still are yet to be told.
Yes. That need to be told. And it's important. I think that again because it's such an ugly story that people have kind of like churned their backs and don't want to talk about, but to me it's like yes, it's horrific, it's horrible, it was a hard, you know, story to tell, but like such beautiful things, like you said, came out of it. Like the resilience. Like this is a story
Mhm.
of resilience. This isn't a story of just like ugliness. It's like we rose, we like
As we do.
survived. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially through food. I think that especially through food in Brazil, like we really our connection to the motherland is really strong. I think that unfortunately for in America, like a lot of that was like broken.
Hmm.
It was a whole different type of mindset with like, the what are they? English? Whoever
Yeah. The
kidnapped
English. I
versus
think, yeah, it was the British that
the
brought
British,
him.
that's the word.
Right, but in Brazil, y'all had the
The
Portuguese,
Portuguese. So and I
which
think that
they were also very special for some
I'm
other.
sorry, they kidnapped like 5 million
Yeah.
Africans.
So it's like, the
Yeah,
horrors that the
crazy.
Portuguese
Yeah.
unleashed were pretty
Yeah.
pretty intense. But the Brits had him beat, unfortunately,
Yeah. I think it's just it was
or
like
had him
in the
beat for
way.
longer.
Yeah. I think that we were allowed a little bit more to keep our connection and keep our traditions a little bit more in Brazil than here, which is great, but it's like unfortunate for here. But I think that now we're rediscovering that story here and rediscovering that connection of like, oh, this ingredient, okra. Oh, what? Black eyed peas? Oh, what? Like, and like discovering that connection. And it's really exciting. And all this to say, I'm going to find a kitchen space that we can collab because these stories need
That's
to get told.
Absolutely. And I'm a talker, so
Yes.
and I'm a thinker. So
Yeah.
I get very cerebral and thoughtful with my dishes and my
Mm-hmm.
plates. I try not to like beat people over the head with like information when they come to my dinners, but if you're the type of person who geeks out on history and loves like putting connections together and
Mm-hmm.
likes to eat, come let me feed you and we can talk as much as you would like about why I chose every single ingredient on that plate the way I did.
Yes, I love it. Okay, tell the listeners where they can find you, where they can like follow all the work that you're doing.
Okay, so you can find me on social media at Lana_cooks. My website is lanacooks.com. And definitely feel free to join my newsletter so you can stay up to date on all of my happenings. I like to post often on social media about my upcoming dinners. There is just, if you follow me in some way, you will not miss that news that the food is coming because I want you to know. I want to feed you. That's it.
Yes, I love
I
it.
do love to feed people. It is like the easiest way to spread joy, the easiest way to spread
Yes.
love,
Mm-hmm.
and the easiest way to feel love back. Because if
Yeah.
someone's going to take time out of their day to come and eat your food, then I appreciate that as well.
No, absolutely. I love it. So head on over and follow Lana, follow her food. Thank you so much for being here today and telling me a little bit more about your journey and everything that you're doing. I'm so excited for you. There's so much. I'm excited for your residency. That's really cool. That'll be
Yeah, me
amazing.
too. I'm definitely hype, and I'm excited that I have these opportunities to cook for
Hmm.
people.
Yes,
And,
it's
thank you
needed.
so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Yes.
And yeah, I hope to come out there pretty soon and cook with you. You're
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, definitely. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. We will see you again next week.